All right, welcome everyone to our LinkedIn Live Ask Me Anything. So this will be a fun session. Blake and I will be on with everybody for about 30 minutes, and we are monitoring the comments on the LinkedIn feed. And really a casual kind of Friday wrap-up is what we have in store for you. So no real set agenda. Other than just answering questions about our journey with OneTrust and what we're up to, and really anything top of mind that you think would be interesting to hear Blake and my perspective on. And so I just wanted to start actually, Blake, and just acknowledge. I mean, what a special and cool week it's been.
Awesome indeed, for sure.
Yeah, and a couple things. One, I don't think everybody knows, but if whoever read the article in Inc. magazine, read a little bit about our story and background, both you and I kind of learned about these privacy challenges when we were at AirWatch, which was the last company we both worked for in the mobile device management market, and learned about the unintended privacy consequences when you track mobile phones. But what I didn't have in that article that not everybody knows is that you're the one who hired me, and Blake actually hired me out of Georgia Tech. It was my first job, and yeah, definitely the best boss I ever had, Blake. And I just remember having a blast being on the road with you, being in front of customers, the creativity, delivering, the work ethic, and so certainly a big part of my story. Hopefully is a reflection of you that you're proud of as well, and inspired me along the way. And were one of the first people to jump in and help me when we decided to go big with OneTrust.
Yeah, no, it's been a blast, and I think even whether it's AirWatch or OneTrust, it's fun being in just a market where transformation's happening, innovation's happening. The world's trying to figure out. Back in mobile, it was new, innovative ideas of how mobility was going to change everything, right? Change every business, the way retail worked, the way pharma worked, everything. And yes, we uncovered lots of privacy problems. And you had the vision there to think about this is a big, big problem. And it's going to be a big, unique enough market. And the insights early on to kind of see and start to build a business and capture that. So it's fun to be in privacy now. That's where I 3-4 years ago wouldn't have said it, but now it's like this is where the innovation's happening for me. Every business in the world is impacted, and it's going to be so fun and exciting for everyone over the next few years of everything that we're going to be building and doing together as a community.
Yeah, and the other thing that was cool about this week, it was just a good opportunity for us to say thank you to our customers who took a chance on us in the early days, and really have been the ones who encouraged us to continue to keep going on it, but also our team and our employees. And so one of the things, we rolled out a bunch of new initiatives for our employees to say thank you, but one of the things we did was introduce no video Fridays. And so what we did, obviously, I think everybody is just exhausted of being on video Zoom meetings all day in a business environment. And it gets exhausting because when you're on video, you can't eat lunch, you can't do a walk, you can't do things you normally would even be able to do in a normal meeting. And so today is one of our no video Fridays or casual Fridays. So I have to be the first to admit I'm wearing a nice button-up shirt, but I'm wearing my Lululemon shorts underneath. I don't know about you, Blake.
Well, it's good that you got pants on, because I think that in itself has apparently become a trend.
But I definitely had to, that'll be my celebration of our casual Fridays. So jumping back into the agenda today, we are going to be taking questions from, the audience today. And we have a number of folks on the line. And it's really just an Ask Me Anything session. And no particular order. We'll take questions as and when we see them. So I encourage everyone on the line to just post in questions. It can be personal questions about Blake or myself. It could be questions about our product. It could be questions about our journey. It could be advice for anyone else. So I'm already seeing some kind of comments and questions come in, some endorsement of my Lululemon decision today. And we're big fans of Lululemon because they're a customer of ours as well, and a very trusted brand. So, maybe, let's start, Blake, with you're kind of the mastermind behind our products. I mean, that's what we're known for, having pioneered this category of software. I think you crossed over 100 patents awarded with your engineering team, and you've consistently released new features every single month for 4 years, which is just crazy. I mean, it's crazy. I think half the company reports to you. You got like 500 to 600 people out of our 1,500 that report to you.
That's what these bags are for, under the eyes.
Yeah. So, I mean, absolutely. I mean, an incredible moment and milestone. So maybe just how has, how you think about the market and the products you build and how it comes together. How would you kind of update us on what that looks like?
Yeah, I think it's a really great question, and I think a lot of people are asking this a bit of where are we going from here? How do you see this market unfolding? Every company in the world has a initiative typically of better understanding who their customers are, right? Every business in the world has to get more strategic about what products do we build, when do we shelf things, what do our customers care about, how do they like to be communicated to? Obviously, you've got millennials and things, so the generation and everything is evolving. But to answer all those questions, in the heart of all of that is data. And you've got to get data about those individuals to be able to provide the quality and services that they're expecting. But to get that data, you need trust from those individuals. And with everything you're seeing at the macro level in the world that's happening today, that trust is increasingly becoming more and more transparent to the average person. People are getting more hesitant to say, I don't want to give you that information, company XYZ. And every organization in the world is now faced with this, and they're starting to tackle and start to say, well, how do we build ourselves to be trustworthy? And what does that mean? And when you break it all up, it starts to unfold all these things about the use of data. How do we get data? Are we transparent in that process? Are we giving people choices and being transparent about what those choices are and who we're using it and how we're using that data? Do we have good governance internally to ensure that it's protected and used for the purpose it was given? All those things. So operationally, you have this kind of massive problem, and that's really where the opportunity of the missing piece of technology fits in. Where how do I govern the use of all of this? How do I extend all that? And then how do I not just do the work, but then I have to showcase it? I got to show to my end users, my employees, my customers, how we're using this and what we're doing to ensure that they can be trustworthy. So in a macro level, that's kind of the way we see the market happening. And as we think about the product, that's why we are extending into things like data governance, things like vendor risk management, expanding what we're doing in preferences and choices beyond the cookie wall, right? Mr. Cookie Monster. So all those things, are kind of part of the future direction of the platform and how all this comes together.
Yeah, I love how you articulate it about trust. And when we started, you and I we were all about privacy. And we realized it's so critical, but to solve privacy, you just have to be trusted. You've got to do things to build that brand of trust. And that's both internally an operational challenge and an external communication challenge, is how you articulated it. And if anybody wants to just go to our website, OneTrust.com, you'll see right there, front and center on the homepage, how we have expanded our platform. There's a question in the chat about, are we expanding beyond privacy? Yes, we already have. Actually, privacy only makes up about half of our revenue now. We get the other significant part from marketing teams wanting to do preference management and actually be able to collect more data, just do it in a trusted, communicative, respectful way. We get a lot of our revenue from GRC and information security management, data governance, and even ethics as well. Because at an executive level, when they talk about trust, privacy is one metric there. But in order to really create a competitive advantage around trust, you got to think bigger. And that's really what our customers have pushed us for. And we've expanded quickly. So, yeah, I mean, I think, Blake, you have 30 products across all of those business units now?
Pretty much, yeah. It's hard to count all of them at this point. But no, just kidding. Yeah,
Unbelievable.
so I mean,
Yeah.
it does. That's the overarching kind of reason for it. But then it does tie down to the brass tacks basics of how do we get this specific mobile application or OTT
Yeah.
application out there with the right framework and controls in place, and do it in a way that doesn't disrupt the core
Yeah.
business, but also give us the governance we need and to be able to showcase that governance, whether it's to a regulator or it's
Yeah.
to our own customers or employees.
Right. And the mission is something that's just so, I think, motivating for our team. It's build technology that helps companies be more trusted and turns trust into a competitive advantage for them. And it allows us to think so big and so creatively. And it's a do good business, which I just love about it, because it's about like creating and shaping the world we all want to grow up in, and we want our children to grow up in,
Yeah,
and
right.
all of those types of things. Yeah, it's awesome. So a bunch of questions came in. Let's fire through a bunch of them. I'm going to try to take some easy ones. So, any future possibilities? This is from Steffi, I think is the name, how you pronounce it on the line. Any future possibilities for further investments in the APAC region? So, yes, absolutely and actively. So, we already have resources and an office in Bangkok, Thailand. There's a lot of attention for the PDPA there. We have a established entity in Singapore and are hiring actively in Singapore. We have a presence in Tokyo now through partners, and we are going to be opening an office in Tokyo between now and end of year. And we have a big presence in Melbourne, Australia, that serves the broader Asia. We also have a small office in Hong Kong that we're doing a lot of work in. So Asia is a significant growth area. We have a big office in India as well. That's primarily been R&D, but with the introduction of the PDPB in India, we're actively hiring pre-sales and implementation and support people in Bangalore as well. So absolutely, APAC is a huge growth area. Similar question, are we hiring in Brazil? I am very proud to announce that as of last week, we have an office in Sao Paulo, and we have 5 people that we've hired there to start. And we have significant demand and a presence in Sao Paulo, one of my favorite places to go visit. Well, maybe Rio sometimes is a little bit nicer at the beach than Sao Paulo, but both beautiful cities and amazing food. So yeah, absolutely. I see a number of our friends from Sao Paulo joining us, or Brazil on the line. So obrigado to all of you, and thanks for joining us. So a few other questions. So this is a great question from Estrella Gallegos. And I love this question, Blake. So I'll let you answer this one. And she says, I see a lot of similarities of OneTrust early days to what I saw with Salesforce. How they started with a CRM and they expanded and built a whole community and collaboration and innovation around what they do. So number one, have you heard that analogy before? Number two, how do you see us evolving in the next 5 years, if that is kind of the trajectory?
Yeah, I think it's a great analogy. I don't know if I specifically heard it in that context about OneTrust before, but we are just adamant as a product and engineering team on partnering with our customers and really building a community around what we're doing. And when you think about the heart of so many of these activities you need to do are centered around the use of data. There's so many synergies that you start to build across not just privacy initiatives, but security initiatives, access, retention enforcement, redaction of content and information out of sensitive documents, risk reduction, your ISMS, your SOC certifications, all these different work streams. And people are really looking for who's sort of the de facto platform that is helping them drive those types of initiatives. And I do see us playing that role in a big way. And part of Kabir and mine's sort of North Star for where we want to take the company and the business, we have high aspirations at that level. So we absolutely would love to be the platform of choice to help people with these trust initiatives.
Well, I mean, first of all, how cool is it to even be compared to a Salesforce? Because
like, what do you even say?
Yeah, I mean, I pitch myself sometimes thinking, that all this is real and we're on a similar trajectory. But I do think I agree with Blake. I think it's a perfect analogy because, they started with a CRM, right? And not only were they early in that market, but they were early to realize that once you put all that data in your CRM, using the context of that CRM information to also build out a partner tool, to also build out an e-commerce tool, also build out a support tool, also build out all their different marketing tools that they have now. There are two things. Number one, it's a very natural progression. It's very operationally efficient. But what people don't realize is that in order, modern companies are going to need to operate off of AI, predictive analytics, and machine learning. And the only way those algorithms work is off of a very consistent data model. So if you have fragmented tools across all these things, you can't use AI, and you'll never be able to get to that strategic point. Salesforce did that really well, and they rolled out their Einstein AI that can look at that data model and use all of it. And we've done something similar. We started with privacy. With privacy, you're putting all your data flows, your vendors, your contracts in the tool. Well, guess what? If you also use the same platform for security in GRC, you're efficient. Right. If you do the same thing for third-party risk, you can tie the context of your vendors together. If you do the same thing for data governance, you can open up access to that data to your business. If you do ethics, you can have consistent forms for whistleblowers and for DSARs. And so absolutely, again, when you go to our OneTrust.com site and you look at what our employees now call the peacock diagram, like our color-coded list of offerings we have, you'll see that we've expanded that direction. And the key reason is so you can do AI with that massive data set. But also what Salesforce did well is build the community of events. So you're going to see us launch an event series later this month called Trust Week. We do events all over the world. But there's also a question on the line around those topics on our certification program from Amy Sanchez. So we used to offer our certification program in person only, and it would cost money. And we had that program for a couple years, and we had about 1,000 people get certified. For the work from home COVID period, we made the decision to make it free and online. And these aren't automated trainings. This is high quality, live, instructor-led courses where we actually spin up test environments for hundreds of people, maintain those up. I mean, it's like a massive cost and a massive infrastructure for us. I don't think people realize like how expensive it is for us to do this. But in 4 months, we've had over 4,000 people get certified. So we have 5,000 people certified on the platform. And the only privacy certification that has more people certified in the world is IAPP. And so we have started to see a couple things as a result. Number one, we've started to see job postings require the OneTrust certification. I've seen over a handful of examples where job postings encourage or require the OneTrust certification. The second thing we've seen is just an overall community develop around this kind of being one of the flagship credentials that goes hand in hand with IAPP, not replaces it. Because IAPP is the knowledge. I've got 5 IAPP certs myself. And to operationalize that knowledge, you can transition that into a OneTrust certification. And we launched a caliber called the Fellow of Privacy Technology. So now you can prove that you're a fellow of privacy with IAPP and a fellow of technology with OneTrust. And it's just a killer combination, I think, that's been missing in the market. And again, those are some parallels, I think, back to that Salesforce analogy. So let's switch topics a little bit, Blake. Let's get a little bit more personal, less about OneTrust, less of the sales pitch, and more of the story. Okay, so Shashank asks a good question. So both of us started our careers right out of Georgia Tech. What was your mindset starting absolutely from scratch out of college? What would you advise undergrads? What's the mindset that got you down this journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think the mindset I had out of the school is probably quite a bit different than the mindset I now have based on what I got to go through. And what I really learned and really value and mentor people about is you have to really think about your first step, your first career, your first job, and you have to not really value that job based on the role, the title, the pay, the benefits. You really want to think about, are you going to gain the experiences to get you on the path of where you're trying to be? And if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, you want to start your own business. If you want to learn how you build a software company, you want to make sure you're in an environment and surrounded with a group of people that can deliver and provide you that kind of experience. And I was fortunate enough, just like you, Kabir, to find that at AirWatch, where, I always say, like, go into a hyper growth market. If you want to gain experience in a shorter amount of time and be able to speed past everyone else, find a market that's growing. And every company, the math is like kind of simple when you think about it. If a market's growing at 400% or 40,000%, every company in that market is probably going to grow at an accelerated rate. And then everybody that is in that company's career and experience and stress and lack of sleep and everything goes with it is going to grow at that accelerated rate. But you gain so much insights into what are you good at, what are you not good at, how does stuff work. And because you're part of that growth vector in a company, you're actually getting hands-on experience of how to actually do it and how to make it work, not just going at a big company where the program's built, it's kind of in the maintain phase, the incremental improvement phase, or a startup that just never executes as well. So that's my advice of how do you value that, and where to kind of put your focus.
Work for Blake. You work for Blake when you're no, but I think I think you're spot on. I think anybody that read the Inc. Article, I share my story a little bit and my perspective there as well. But for me, it's not about, if you want to be independent and start a company, it's not about can you do that. You definitely can do that. Everybody here can do that. The two fundamental skills you need is you need to be smart and hardworking. That's it. You need to be smart and hardworking, and that's it. And most people are smart and hardworking. And the question really is, how high can you set the bar? And I think that's the key point you touched on, Blake, which is if you just graduate from university and say, oh, I can do what the Snapchat guy did and, start an app and, make $1 billion, you got to get lucky, right? You got to get lucky. And so I never wanted to rely on luck in my career. I wanted to work hard and be successful as a result. But how do you set the bar higher? Because when you're just out of university, there's just a lack of a set of experiences and knowledge you have to be able to raise that bar, where hard work can raise the bar rather than luck. And so I love your advice, Blake, and I wholeheartedly agree. Work for a company who you admire and would want to grow with and learn from. And that's what you and I both did at AirWatch. We learned that hyper growth, there's a fundamental set of qualities and expectations that are in the DNA of that type of company. And we also learned enterprise software. I mean, we learned how to deploy, build, and scale enterprise software. And guess what? That became our, if anybody's read Good to Great or Great by Choice by Jim Collins, that's our hedgehog concept.
Right.
That's what we are uniquely good at that other people aren't, right? I mean, it's like being, it's like being a great athlete. Like you train and practice. And you still need a 6-foot wingspan to be the best swimmer. So you need to have some natural things you're really born with, but a lot of it is practice and learning and having good coaches. And you don't get that when you jump into this right away. So you spend how many years at AirWatch?
10 years? 10 in total before I came over to OneTrust.
Yeah, and I spent 6 years there, and I changed roles constantly, learned a ton.
Constantly, yeah. I mean, you and I both started out. Right. Support. Started in support. You learn support. You learn the business. You learn how do you deal with escalations. You don't learn how do you troubleshoot and do all kinds of things. And you mold that into the next role.
Yeah. So that's really the key is how high of a bar can you set for yourself? And the fun of it is figuring out what are you capable of doing, because you don't really know. And that's been a big part of the fun of it for me. So, I think that's hopefully Shashank, your answer to that question.
So, Kabir, question for you then, I guess tied to that. You obviously, did you set the bar for yourself this high, or, how did you feel like when you saw yourself on the cover of the magazine.
You know, the story, I think it was like almost a year ago, Blake. I mean, we've been looking at the Inc. 500 is like the list, right, for anybody that starts a company. And I think about a year ago, you and I were at a board meeting, or our board kickoff for the year, and we were looking at our numbers, and we've never ever qualified for the Inc. 500 because it's just such a high bar to enter. And we were looking at our numbers and recapping, and we're like, wait a minute. I think we're going to qualify this year. But not only that, if you look at our growth, we're like, we might be number one. And this was a year ago. And we're like, all right, let's not speak of it. Let's not talk about it. Let's just keep working hard, executing, delivering. Let's have our team apply and let's see what happens. And we had no idea until it came out. And I was literally doing an event, and I was speaking at an event, a virtual event with like 50 or 100 of the top chief compliance and ethics officers. And I'm in the middle of doing my talk. Somebody else was talking, and I just get an alert from my Apple News feed. And I refresh my Apple News feed, and Apple News has like magazine covers in it, their News Plus thing. And I saw like my picture on the thing, and I was like trying to maintain my cool during this event you're in the middle of. Like, how do you prepare yourself for a moment like that? It's like, it's got to be the coolest thing that's ever happened in my lifetime and career. And, I guess you don't really know what's on your bucket list in life until it happens. And, that's definitely a bucket list item I didn't even know I had, but that's like, the coolest thing ever. So, yeah, I mean, I still can't get over it. It's, ultimately the coolest thing is how proud everybody else is. It's like, look, I know you and I both know we work our asses off every day. We push so hard. Our team works so hard. Our customers are so supportive. You and I know that. But it's hard to tell that story to everybody else without it. It's kind of awkward with when it's yourself telling that story. But when you have an opportunity for like a magazine like Inc. to tell your story for you in a very kind of neutral and independent way, it's cool for your parents. Like, it's cool for my
sister. For everyone.
It's cool for my, So yeah.
I mean, I hope one, you don't start a company with a goal to like get in the Inc. You've got to be more passionate about something than that.
Have a mission. And I think the mission's not,
exactly.
The mission's not revenue. The mission's solve a problem that's important.
Solve a problem, and hopefully, like, all of the OneTrust community celebrated with this. I mean, this is a huge milestone for all of us. And to your point, the employees and everyone else, because I know you and I both have made a lot of commitments to some of our customers, and they took a leap, of us saying like, we're going to build this, we're going to deliver, we're going to get this resolved for you, et cetera. And there was 1,000 people behind us helping make all that happen. And hopefully just a really proud moment for everyone.
Yeah. And I see a question on the line from a good friend and a mentor of mine, Anand Tucker, who on the same startup topic, Blake, when did you realize you had good product market fit to, go big? And I can take the first stab at that and then ask you for your perspective. But, actually Anand was part of my journey advising me before I even started. So it's fun to see you on here, Anand. And, I remember having a call with Anand and another one of my mentors, KP Reddy, and both brilliant entrepreneurs and investors in Atlanta. And I didn't know if I had product market fit at that point. And my call with Anand and KP was, I'm building this. We started with the PIA tool. I'm building this PIA and data mapping tool. I have one beta customer, and should I give the entire thing away for free to everybody to just get adoption and see who wants to use it, or should I charge money for it? It was like the first question I had, and I couldn't figure it out. And there are pros and cons. If you give something away for free, customers don't perceive value in it, and also your sales reps aren't motivated to go win and get adoption. And you actually don't have broader strategic relationships with your customers if they didn't have to internally go through that budgeting process. But on the flip side, if somebody's not even willing to use your product for free, then you don't have product market fit. Like, somebody's got to at least be willing to use it for free before you do that. And it was an interesting question. And ultimately, we ended up doing both the paid and free edition, based on some of Anand's advice to me. And I think for us, product market fit was a difficult concept because this was a new market we were defining that was so early that it wasn't mass market yet. So just because the fact that so many companies said no, they're not ready, didn't mean we didn't have product market fit. But the key thing was, if you read Crossing the Chasm, Jeffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm, can we identify and find the early innovators in the market
Yep.
that are going to set the tone for the rest of the market? And I sat in on IAPP events and found who are the people speaking at industry events. It was the chief privacy officer of IBM, of HP, of Merck, of Marriott, and they were already building homegrown tools themselves for PIAs and data mapping and privacy and governance. And that was the aha moment for me that says, okay, the early innovators are trying to build this themselves, which means this is going to lead to a market potentially. So I know, Blake, if you have a different perspective, because you helped us launch so many new markets and so many new categories.
I mean, I'll give a different perspective in the context of, I think, you knew that privacy was the long-term trend. It wasn't just a GDPR solution, and that gave really everyone the comfort and ability to sort of say, we need to invest big here, and we know it's going to continue to be one thing after the other and continue to be important. On the product side, I think we constantly are always challenging and always questioning, do we have the right product for the market? And that is going to consistently be a moving target, and we have to continue to be agile as part of why we release so rapidly and have built a pipeline and a software dev lifecycle where we can do that, so that as the market changes and as customers need change and just the maturity of the market happens, we constantly have to be reassessing and reevaluating and answering that question. What is the product market fit for this market?
Yeah. And it changes constantly. What was product market fit a year ago might not be product market fit today.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the key. And I think, Blake, you've done a really good job with our customer advisory boards, having our own internal privacy and security research team feeding you in directional trends. You've done a good job yourself showing up to events and talking to customers. You've built an online portal where customers can submit ideas that they have for us that we can vote on. And there's just so many different input sources to know where the market's going.
Yeah, and we created, the offering teams.
Yeah.
So the way we have scaled and will continue to scale is having dedicated sort of focus. So you'll find, as part of our culture, it's a cross-functional team. Everybody, for example, focuses just on vendor risk, and that's the product marketer to the product manager, the UX designer, the front end, back end dev team, the QA testing team. They all just focus on the vendor risk problem, and they're able to laser in on that product market fit without being distracted with the work that needs to go on in privacy or the work that's got to happen in GRC. And that's what's allowed us to continue to, scale the product and the company.
Yeah. So we're getting close to our time. The Ask Me Anything's been a lot of fun, a lot of good questions coming in. And I think we've gotten to a lot of the questions people have posted for us in the chat, but I know there's more. And hopefully we'll get a chance to do another one or two of these in the upcoming weeks as well, because I know people are curious about your story, Blake, and our overall journey. But maybe, look, I think both of us are just getting started. I mean, we're 4 years into this journey. We're at the infancy of the market. This is definitely a good moment to reflect, though, and kind of lift our heads up from the grind of the day-to-day and the 20-hour days and all the things that go on, to just reflect a little bit. So as you think back to the time you've spent with us at OneTrust, what's your most memorable, favorite, special moment? Whether it's with a customer or with a product or whatever it is.
Man, so many choices. I think when we as a company kind of did our first user conference, and we were able to see really the impact in a very material way with all the people kind of there in London with us, the stories that we heard from them of how we had helped them internally sort of up level their career to help them with the day-to-day challenges that they were having, and to hear people give us the feedback of like, you guys, are just innovating and you're helping us so much. And I can't even, I think of an idea and I turn around a week later, it's in the product. And just that kind of like, what's the impact we're really doing? It was just a real moment for me. And it was something I was like, wow, something's happening here. It's really awesome.
I thought for sure you were going to say the moment you and I were in Hong Kong at the.
I was going to say that, but I didn't know what the PG rating of
Blake and I were in Hong Kong
session.
2 years ago, I think, at a regulator conference, exhausted from the week of work and the time zone difference. I forget where I was on my way to, but Blake, I think you're on your way home to Atlanta, to see your family and kids after a long week. And I called you. You were sitting on the plane. About to take off. They hadn't closed the gate yet. And I called you and you picked up and I said, Blake, can you go to India? I need you to go to India now because we've got a major flagship customer that wants to deploy. We have to deliver for them. Their engineers are all in India. And you took your bag off the plane, walked off, and then rebooked to India, flew straight to India, and we won that customer, and they're a great partner for us today. And that was awesome, man. And I'm so grateful for all the hustle and work you put into this every day, and so proud to be working with you. So really awesome. So it was fun to join you today, Blake. Anything in closing you have for the audience?
No, I think you started off with saying, thank you guys so much for being part of the community here. We hope to continue to, not let everyone down and continue to be there to deliver value for our customers.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that, Blake. And thanks for everyone for your support and for joining us today. Bye.
Thanks all.